All right, we are recording. So, chapter 8? Chapter 8 of Pastor's Courage. This chapter is not as interesting. I mean, it's important, but it's not as interesting as some of the others, I think. Some of the others I've read and some others I'm expecting, though. To be fair, I don't remember where the chapter divides are and what's coming. But I do know, so this ends, yes, on a cliffhanger, like the others have, but I do know what the actual conclusion is, what the answer is. So I'll probably just give it because I mentioned it before, actually. So at the end of the previous chapter, he and 3 other POWs managed to escape. While going down the road, they have some bickering about how, what exactly they're going to do. Like, when are they going to get off the road, that kind of thing. And, there we go. As they are, debating about this, though, a motorcycle comes up, and they weren't sure if they were seen, but the guy stopped, yelled at them in German, and then went on. So, like, yeah, we were seen. And not too long later, a truck carrying guards obviously does come up behind them. They've already dropped into a ditch and then started running across the field. But the way we know it's German, it's guards, is because they start firing. And soon as only Coward and Connolly is his partner's name here. Wally Connolly, at least it's how he refers to him at some points. And they are running through this field, and they're not being chased. There's a reason for this. Because as they're going, they're having to jump over what they interpret to just be fences. But, they're short enough that you can take them in stride. Eventually, as they keep going, they come into a wooded area, and there's a sign up, upward, attention, danger, high voltage. They were running through an area that has power lines for the nearby railway. Now, you would think the wires would have to be somehow guarded, somehow protected against, like, animals running into them, but still, it's like, well, that explains why they weren't following us. And could you imagine if we touched them? Well, we didn't, so don't worry about it. Sometimes it's just the view you gotta take. So then they continue on, and fortunately they are not being followed. They don't know that for certain, so they are concerned, but eventually they continue. They follow the railway, get onto the road, going down that. Then they run into a police officer on a bicycle who's just out, and he's stopped to have a smoke. And they're like, let's just bluff our way past him. But as they're going, he does talk to them some, like, just, who are you? Connolly, fortunately, does know some German. Not much, and it's very badly spoken, but he does know some. Coward, at this point, doesn't know any, which I think, I know I've mentioned in previous chapters. He will eventually learn German. But at this point, he does not. Connolly knows it. And basically manages to get away with bluffing the guy that, no, we're Bulgarian. Because Coward at one point actually speaks in English. It's like, what language is that? It's not German. We're Bulgarian. Oh, okay. That's also what their papers indicate, that they are Bulgarian. That they're just, like, in the area working. They hand over the passes. The guy looks, it's like, okay, yeah. Where are you going? Oh, we're just, off of work, got a week off. We have some friends in Katzenberg, something like that. The town up the street. Yeah, so we're just going to see them, and didn't want to pay a fare anywhere, so we'll walk in it. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, it's down that way, about 4 kilometers. Have fun. So that's what they actually get off the road to rest for a while, get back on, and when they get there, they do encounter a line of Gestapo and SS, but it's like Coward season is just like Connolly, though. He's a bit faster on this. It's like, hey, let's go over here and have some food. So they go do that. And basically what ends up happening from this is, it's like, we gotta just try it. So they go forward, the papers get them through by the SS. They buy their tickets, get on a train, go, and at every single stop, SS get on the train, inspect all the passes, get off. So, and it keeps working, They keep looking at the passes, and you're all fine. They finally get off the train. Hang on. There. May have heard that. I just need to turn off an amp. They get off the train. Need to. They change trains twice, I think it is. Yeah. And it's again, the whole thing. Their passes get checked at those times, getting off, getting on, repeatedly on the trains, all that. And it looks like they're going to make it. He's like, they're finally getting off at the last train because then they're going to head over to this lake, which they figured that's going to be the easiest way to actually get into Switzerland, I believe it is. I could be wrong. In some ways, it doesn't matter because they finally, they're at the last point. The SS are there. Papers, here you go. Dude looks at them, hands them over to the other guy, and he's just like staring at Coward the entire time, just locked eyes. You gotta look at me. You look away. I know something's up. Gets the papers back, looks at them, and then he just describes it in just this kind of grotesque smile of enjoyment to come, and just goes, "But you are British, yes?" And that's where the chapter ends. Now, I've mentioned it before, so I'll just mention it here because this is what has happened. Bulgaria has, as a crest on its documents, on its passes, an eagle. Their forged passes have it flipped. So it's facing the wrong direction. No one was noticing because they were recognizing the eagle. They weren't noticing the orientation. One of these two SS guys has looked at it and realized that. That these are obviously fake. Well, who else would they be then but the escaped British prisoners? And even then, it still is in the Great Escape, the whole a way to trip somebody up is who is supposed to be competent at German at least but the native tongue is English. You start talking to them in English because they will naturally want to respond in that language. And so he does that. He's trying to do that. And Connolly, I did see this start of the next chapter. Connolly does try to answer, no, we're getting, but no, they are caught because of the forged paperwork. I'm trying to remember. I know that same trick with the whole speaking in your enemy's language, that was done in an episode of Stargate SG-1. Was that... man, I'm trying to remember the name. It was the one where they go back in time to the 70s. And the name of it is 1970 something. I just don't remember what the last number is. Where Daniel, because he's not always the brightest, he's incredibly intelligent and knows many languages, including Russian. So when somebody starts talking to him in Russian, on a military base where he's not supposed to be, he responds in kind. It's like, Daniel, what? Well, he spoke to me in Russian, so I thought I would just reciprocate. It's like, no, Daniel, no. I feel like there's another example that I should know, but it's not coming to mind. Like that, it's just somewhere in my collection. But I mean, it is a valid thing that if you do that, somebody might not realize. I mean, it's here. If you've ever seen the movie White Christmas, how towards the beginning, when Bing Crosby's character salutes, throws up a salute to Danny Kaye's character, even though technically, oh wait, no, it's not that. Might be a handshake, but Danny Kaye is his arm is legitimately injured, but it's not that bad, and he pulls out of the sling to shake Bing Crosby's hand, or does a salute, something like that, where it is a natural response, and so it's like, wait a minute, but it's too late. They are friends now. They're gonna be fast friends, all that, and it's the old war injury. It's like, yeah, I really shouldn't let you do that, but it's also shouldn't let you use that to guilt trip me. But at the same time, it's like every time Danny Kaye's character is doing that, it's because he's basically giving Bing Crosby's character an excuse to do what he actually does want to do. So yes, Coward and Connolly have been caught. What will happen after this, I don't recall, because they would either be taken back to Lambsdorff, the main POW camp that they are actually from, but it is also possible that they could be brought to a different camp. And there'll likely be some interrogation as well in there. We'll see, because as I have said before, I'm fairly certain that he does end up being held at another camp before Auschwitz, because I've mentioned that there is a barracks of Russian POWs at one of these at that other camp, and Lambsdorff is described in here, and when I looked it up, as being really just for British POWs, or well, yeah, British POWs. Even if the people themselves are not British, they would still, if they were part of the British Army. So, because many did join. Although it does also remind me of one thing that I may need to either check on for research, or just I'm not sure. Because there's a movie that's I enjoyed called Captain Newman M.D., which is also set during World War II. It's set in the United States. The premise to it is essentially you have a psychiatrist who's trying to treat those soldiers who have been brought back because there is something mentally wrong with them. Some sort of mental illness, emotional disorder, something like that. So, like, they have one guy who has a complete break with reality and ceases to be himself because he feels such guilt. This is actually like a colonel, maybe? I'm like a high up officer, and it's essentially the weight of sending people he knows even to their deaths. It's finally broken him. One that saw basically his big brother, the adoptive big brother in the army, saw him killed right in front of his eyes. Like, this is the guy who was taking care of him the entire time, and that whole thing. And another who managed to hide and survive, but he feels such guilt that he's basically decided to be catatonic, I think might be the right word. Completely non-responsive. He's conscious, but he's non-responsive. But one aspect of it is it's set in Nevada, Arizona, a desert lake area. And his ward is the only one that it can be locked. And this is important because, at least according to the Geneva Convention, you keep prisoners of war in camps that had the same climate as where they were captured. So they bring a bunch of Italian POWs that were captured in northern Africa because it's a similar climate to where this U.S. base is. And it does seem odd, though, that I guess it could be completely made up, but it does seem odd, the idea that you would bring Italian POWs to the continental U.S. to be held, but yeah. But also, to be fair, and I actually do wonder how much this is accurate, but it's in that movie. It's also in a Humphrey Bogart movie called Sahara, which, as I recall, he considers it his best film, which does make one thing disappointing. It's very hard to find a copy of. It's on DVD. It's not come to Blu-ray. Actually, no, I take that back. I think I did see there's a European Blu-ray of it. I want that to come to America, though. It's a very good movie. It is. But something in both that and Captain Newman M.D. is presented that the Italians didn't necessarily, at least at some point in the war, they actually came to dislike Hitler and the Nazis and the German army, all of that, such that if they were captured, especially by Americans, they're like, cool, out of the war, I like this. That they wanted out of the war. They were stuck in it and they were gonna fight because they were loyal Italians. But they didn't like Hitler. And I'm not sure, because I don't remember all the stuff between Hitler and Mussolini, but I mean, it is one of those things where I don't remember enough of the history there. But anyway, coming back to the Britisher thing, why I was even talking about that, is because there was a mention of some being in the book, not in this chapter, 1 or 2 chapters ago, I think, of some POWs that were captured in northern Africa that were brought to this, and it is a very different climate. So I do wonder if that was made up for the movie, and it would. That does actually make some sense, because, as I said, why would you bring Italian POWs to the continental U.S. to not a prison camp? It's just, a military camp that has a hospital there, including a psychiatric ward. But I mean, it is a very good movie, and that even that stuff, as weird as it does sound, it does work out well because for one thing, you got Vito Scotti as the head of the Italian POWs, and you got Tony Curtis as one of the orderlies, and it's one of those where Tony Curtis grew up. You had to know like 4 different languages just to do business, one of them being Italian, so he's able to talk and everything works. It's a good movie. It is a bit different though. But it is more of just a drama. There is some romantic comedy aspect to it, plenty of comedy as well. I don't really know how to describe it. But also, I guess I shouldn't because it's not pertinent to this book. So yeah, coming back to this book, this chapter, don't get me wrong, it is an important chapter, but it's not quite as interesting. I mean, I guess if you forget that he does not successfully escape until the end of the war, if you forget that, then it would be more interesting, but I know he doesn't successfully escape. It is stated earlier in the book he does not successfully escape, so I mean, like, the most would just be, something like this, where he's been out for at this point, probably 3 or 4 days. Like, that's kind of the most he's going to enjoy, during those years. So, yeah, but, I mean, this is important, because it happened. You do need to convey some of this, and yeah. But, yeah, Chapter 9, though, will probably be a bit more interesting, because he will be... Well, he's caught, so we're going to get all the details of that, not just what I've told you. That I'm pretty sure this is where the eagle has been flipped. By accident, of course. Oh, that does remind me. I think, because I was talking about The Great Escape, and I mentioned Steve McQueen. Yes, he did bullet. But I think I also had mentioned Thomas Crown Affair. That might not have been Steve McQueen, that might have been Paul Newman. My apologies for... Yeah, let me quickly check. I've actually never seen the original Thomas Crown Affair, which has one or the other. I have seen the one from 99. No, it is Steve McQueen. Okay, so I did have it right. Okay. I'm sorry. My brain hasn't been functioning all that well this week, so confusing Paul Newman and Steve McQueen, I should never do that. They are very different people, different actors. Very good actors, though, in many very good movies. But, yeah. Yes, and the original 1968 of the Thomas Crown Affair. They also redid it in 1999 with Pierce Brosnan. My parents have seen both. They believe that the Pierce Brosnan version is better. I've not seen the old one, so I can't really comment on that. But it is a good film. That I will say is also a good film. Completely unrelated to this, though. So yeah. All right. I am not sure what Chapter 9 is going to end. As I was saying, it's likely he, some amount of interrogation, maybe wherever he is brought to, whether it's back to Lambsdorff or somewhere else, he will be in solitary confinement for a while. He'll be in a cooler, because that's what you do. We will find out, though, what happened to the other 2, who were certainly caught, but were they injured, potentially killed? I do not have any memory of that, so. Alright. Just getting the cursor ready to click and stop this. But, yeah. See you next time.